What's up, guys? Welcome back to Legends Never Die, where neither will you if you know Jesus. I'm going to discuss Darren return to collecting's 1,000 VR subscriber contest. Congratulations, Darren, where he wants to talk about what our next big goal card, what our next Holy Grail may be. And shout out 3 channels under 300 subscribers. But before I do that, I wanted to share a Bible verse really quick. I've gotten away from doing that a little bit, and I want to do that. So it comes from Matthew 6:19-21. It says, "Don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where their thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves don't break in and steal. For where your treasure is, your heart is also." And I thought that was a good verse for today, because I think there's nothing wrong with collecting and acquiring these things that we have. Or if you have a great job and you're able to provide for your family, your loved ones in a great way, there's nothing wrong with that. It's all about where your heart lies, where your priorities lie. And it should first and foremost lie within heaven with our Heavenly Father, and to seek the things that He wants us to seek. But you guys are here mainly to hear about cards. So I wanted to approach Darren's VR a little bit different than what I've seen so far. But first,
I'm going to shout out some channels. Here is everyday card collector Jason, big White Sox collector, vintage cards, Hall of Fame stuff. Jason's a good dude. Met him in Cleveland for the first time. He currently has 275 subscribers, under that 300 mark. Scoots Collectibles, Pittsburgh guy. Pirates, Steelers, Penguins, does some vintage. You can see a red man there. I love that. Met Scoot also for the first time at the National in Cleveland. He has 203 subscribers. Next is a channel I wouldn't particularly say that he's quote unquote part of the community, but good grief, the information on this channel is unbelievable. T206 Museum. If you're interested in anything to do with T206, the backs, the packaging, the oddities, this is a great channel to watch. I really enjoy it. The Solo Shot Sports Podcast, ran by my friend Dom over at Staven Sports Cards. If you want to keep up with the current game and know what's going on in a half hour every Saturday, this is the way to do it. He's only got 61 subscribers. I love listening to this when I'm cutting grass at my house and I have nothing else to listen to. I love you, Dom. Next, THA Card Story, Matt and Tyrus. Their Spawn and Aaron collection's insane. I was actually surprised to know they were under 300. They're at 286. I mean, for heaven's sakes, the guy has a contract from Hank Aaron's Bowman contract in the 50s. I mean, great stuff here. Check him out. Then there's this channel called The Misfits. They only have 17 videos and 252 subscribers, but they told me if I wanted to be in their club, that I had to shout them out on this video. So there they are. Then 2 that break the rule, because I already shouted out more than 3, but my friend Jared over at Average Braves Fan, really getting into the hobby, went to the National, met some YouTubers, trying to get into the community. Good guy. Braves stuff, vintage, autographs, memorabilia. He's a Braves season ticket holder. He's much more than an average Braves fan. Jared's a good dude. And then finally, Staven Sports Cards, spelled with a 5. What's up with that, Dom? 321 subscribers. He's the young vintage collector that everyone loves to watch and talk about. He even knows hobby hero Sammy Thunder, as you can see there on the thumbnail. So definitely check out Dom, the lesser half of the Cracking Cooperstown podcast team. Now back to the rest of the VR.
I want to talk about the thought process going into choosing your next big goal card or choosing your next grail, and kind of what I do and what I have done. So growing up, when I got into collecting when I was a kid, 7, 8 years old, I had 2 older cousins that collected, Chris and Tommy. And I was actually a basketball collector, almost exclusively first. And the card that I always saw, the card that I always heard about, because my family was Tar Heel basketball fans, and the greatest basketball player of all time happened to attend the University of North Carolina. Michael Jordan was the guy. He's the greatest to ever touch a basketball, to ever walk the face of this earth, because basketballs weren't around when Jesus was here. I'm sure he had a mean jumper. But because of that, the Michael Jordan rookie was the card. At that time, around when I was, growing up, teenager, they ran this ad where in Beckett magazine where a lot of players would hold up their Grail card, and it would be like the back cover, right? And they would hold up that Jordan rookie, so many of them, because I got Beckett basketball, right? So that was my Grail. And my first national I ever went to, it was in 2013 in Chicago with my cousin Tommy. And the Jordan rookie was his Grail. He bought one at that national. And you may know this already, but several years later, when I was a college kid, my cousin decided he was going to sell his Jordan rookie in order to pursue the monster. And he let me buy it from him for $400 on a payment plan because I was a broke college kid. So that's my Michael Jordan rookie PSA 5. All right. So after that, that was, let's see, what year was that? 20, I don't remember. It's not important. Time rolled on. This set came out, and I'm a big Tar Heel basketball fan, like I mentioned, and we thought that this would be the big card from the autograph set within it. And it made sense for it to be my next big thing because everything I just said about Jordan applies to this, but even more so because it was from 2009-10 Upper Deck, North Carolina set. And I got my next big gold card, or my next Grail card, and it was my Michael Jordan autograph. So that helped me really make a difference towards that set. And those two cards are really the turning point in my collecting, that I went from, opening packs and keeping everything and trading some to buying singles. So then I really got into researching the game of baseball. I love the game of baseball. Always been a Braves fan. I had baseball cards, but at this point I hadn't really collected them a ton other than what I got from my paternal grandmother, my nanny. So I started thinking about the greats of the game of baseball because I love records, I love statistics, and I decided I would start with the two major clubs that I think separated the greatest of the greatest in baseball as far as hitters go from everyone else. There's the 500 home run club and the 3,000 hit club. For those of you that watch my channel, you also know that The Sandlot is my favorite movie of all time. I have many, many things in my collection related to The Sandlot. And this item tied those together, and it was like the item. If I could have anybody from 500 homers or 3,000 hits, it would have been this player. So my dream was my Babe Ruth autograph. And the year before I was to get married, I purchased a Babe Ruth autograph. I made the deal with myself that if I bought one, I would pay for this, the honeymoon, the wedding, and the ring before I bought anything else for my collection. It took me about a year, and everything went towards that, and I was able to acquire this. And man, I'm so glad I did. It's worth like 3 times what I paid for it now, which isn't everything, but what it means is I couldn't afford to buy a Babe Ruth autograph now, or it would take me significantly longer to save up for it, which is going to go into my thought process that I'm going to talk about. My most recent, well, not true. My second most recent Grail item was, I'm a big Hall of Fame autograph collector, and I thought to myself, what is the biggest autograph reasonably at this point in my collecting that I would want? If it went way up and it fell out of my range, what would I be most upset about? Who do I want? And that player was Ty Cobb. So in Atlantic City, I purchased this check signed by Ty Cobb. It's my Ty Cobb autograph. And I was over the moon about it. Then many of you, if you watch my recent videos this year, I inherited some money and spent almost a year flipping, moving, whatever, gathering the funds so that I could purchase my most recent Grail. And that was my green background T206 Ty Cobb, which comes full circle with my first Grail item there. That was the Jordan rookie. That was my cousin Tommy's, whose T206 set I acquired from him, which kicked off my own building of the monster. So how cool is that, that the first one connects to the most recent? But now, the thought process of what's next, because this is what Darren wanted to know, what's our next big gold card that we'd like to acquire? He said within the next 12 months. Mine would just be the next big item I'm working towards, whether it takes 12 months, a little shorter, or a little longer. My general approach to my collection is that I have a master spreadsheet with 25,000 items on it. It has everything I could possibly want on it, from 1970s commons to bobbleheads, to Hall of Fame autographs, to the big cards for all the sets that I need, to autographed baseballs. It's got everything on there that I feel like I want in my lifetime hobby goals. Because I was very blessed and very fortunate that I started very young collecting. I never stopped, and I plan to do it throughout my life unless, my finances need to go elsewhere. So that being said, if I'm playing the long game here, I look at it as what's the best long-term move. So I tend to target items, at least with a significant portion of my funds saving towards it, of what's the next big top item that I can get that's still within range before it increases in value and it's out of my range. Because I operate mostly in vintage, Hall of Fame autographs, things that are very stable, the blue chip type items that tend to stay steady or slightly go up over time. It's not like I collect the hot rookies that may explode at any second or bomb out at any second. So it's not super volatile. That's why I targeted the Ruth when I did. That's why I targeted the Ty Cobb autograph when I did. That's why I targeted the Ty Cobb green background T206. Because amongst my sets that I'm building outside of the 52 Topps Mickey Mantle, Cobb was the biggest, what I would call, set killer in T206 that I would need to someday complete that set. It's going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars to complete that someday, even in today's monetary values. But he was at the top end of what I could get for a 520 set, and if I knock that out now, that increases my chances over the longevity and the life of my collecting hobby life to complete that set someday, possibly. I view Hall of Fame autographs the same way. What can I buy that's the most scarce, the most valuable, the most likely to go up at the top end of what I could possibly reasonably save, so that someday, as time goes on, it'll be easier to pick off the low-hanging fruit. There are guys, if you went and looked at the YouTube Hall of Fame registry and noticed there are names that cost $20, $30 that I don't have, because I'm not worried about getting those right now. I can get those later. And even if they go up, it goes up to what, 40, 50, 60 bucks? That's a lot different than talking comma cards that I've got to save for, right? When those go up, that's a significant difference. So finally, here are the items that I'm considering. And I'll be honest, I'm undecided. And I'll walk through the ones I have on here and the thought process behind them. If you're still with me, I hope you're enjoying this philosophical episode because I'm not showing any more cards. I'm just going to talk about these things. So, from a Hall of Fame autograph perspective, I thought about two autographs. There's Lou Gehrig, the Iron Horse. He's one of the autographs, realistically, at the top end of what I could possibly save for. I would like a cut autograph, sorry Frank, so that I can make it into a Perez Steel or buy one that is already done. That would roughly be in the range of $5,000. That's a lot of money, okay? It would take me a lot of time to save that, to gather the funds by, other means to get enough to acquire one. That's at the top end of what I feel like I could spend if I really stuck to it, and it would take me at least a year, maybe two, I don't know. But that's kind of the top end right now. I don't think I can buy, realistically, Mordecai Three-Finger Browns or Amos Russis or guys like that are near impossible, or even Martin DeHigos, people like that. Frank, Bill, Mike, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But also, from a Hall of Fame autograph perspective, what's another name that is a little bit lower than that if it did go significantly up, we're still talking a comma card here, if I would be upset if I missed out on it? What was one of those names that I would consider a big-time autograph that I'd have to save for, that if I didn't have one in my collection, that I would miss and regret the most? And that's Walter Johnson. He's going for about $2,000, $2,500, somewhere in there for what I would like. Same kind of thing as Gehrig. I'd like a, cut autograph, something I could make into a Perez Steel, ideally. But he's the guy that I believe is the greatest pitcher to ever play the game. And though I will never have every Hall of Fame autograph, that's one I felt like I would really regret if I didn't have in my collection. I love Walter Johnson. I think he's awesome. So that's why he makes this short list. What about the vintage card side, though? I'm working on 46 different vintage sets right now, from 1979 back to the T206 set, and a whole lot of stuff in between. So what are some of the things that I considered? Well, at the top end, there's the 1933 Gaudi Ruth. There's 4 of them. Yes, I'm building that set. Is it realistic that I complete it? Maybe, maybe not, but we'll see what happens in the coming decades. But Ruth, for that 33 Gaudi, it almost feels like it's now or never. Do I want to start saving towards one and at least knock one out if I even have to have a set someday that's near complete minus the 3 Ruths and the Lajoie, and I could call it complete in my mind? If I want one, those are going for $5, $6 grand, in a one. It may be now or never if I want to add the Ruth. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I just bought a T206 Ty Cobb green background, man. That's a $6,000 piece of cardboard. Maybe I want to add something I really want that's not a comma card. Still a big card, but not a comma card. So I considered the T206 Rube Waddell portrait. That's a card I really want for my collection because Rube Waddell's story is incredible, and it's impossible to have him represented in my collection with an autograph or with a relic card. So the T206 Rube Waddell, other than maybe a bobblehead, is the only thing I would have for that Hall of Famer in my collection. It would hit a set. It's a T206 Hall of Famer, top 100, toughest cards in the set. And it would fill all the things I just talked about. So that's a consideration. But if I look across my other sets that I'm doing, what are some of the other set killers, if you will, for my collection? I wound up back at T206 again. I'm on a kick, and I'm really enjoying getting those. And as I look across all my sets, the same thing applies, right? The T206 Dimmitt and O'Hara variations in St. Louis uniform, those are at the top end of what I need across all my vintage sets. And recently, another fellow YouTuber, CRT Sports Cards, I hope I got that right, Christopher, sorry man, he does everything about his T206 set, and he recently sold his Dimmitt for nearly $5 grand at auction, and that's a card that's ticking up. Those 2 cards are considered the 5th and the 6th toughest of the entire T206 set to acquire outside the big 4 that most consider impossible. 520 is considered a complete set, like Maxa Jackson and like Lefty Indy V10. So those 2 are on the list. And finally, I'm not going to lie, I considered adding another one of the remaining 3 T206 Ty Cobbs because it's Ty Cobb, man. I love Ty Cobb, and they're right behind the Dimmitt and O'Hara in terms of value for that set. So when I look at my collection and what's next for the next big gold card, because I strategize this way outside of the Waddell, and to a degree even it gives me a lot of time to start putting back funds and saving and watching and thinking about these things and monitoring them before I get to this, multi-thousand or at least 1,000 quantity of funds so that I can pursue one of these to decide at that time what I would like to do. But if I had to summarize it, it's for those of us that are in collecting for the long haul. I think going after the big dogs, maybe not every card, but putting part of your funds back towards the big items that you would want someday, to start knocking those off the top end first as often as you can. I know not all of us are made of money. I know I'm not. Will only benefit us in the long run. It's okay to add some of the smaller items along the way. I do that. But generally, I try and focus on the big items for the big picture first, so that when I look back, like I do on the Jordan rookie, on the Ruth autograph, on the Cobb autograph, on the Michael Jordan autograph. I look back and I think, man, it's awesome that I was able to add those to my collection. I don't know if I'd be able to today, or it would take me a lot longer. So I encourage you to think big picture with your collection if you're in this for life. Until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about my next big goal card. Congratulations again to Darren on his 1,000 subscribers. Until then, when you tune in again, keep collecting and God bless.